Hi again. In William Schnell's 30 Years a Watchtower Slave, he's entered into full-time slavery. He's now working at Magdeburg, the headquarters of the Watchtower in Germany. And this subhead is A Marked Contrast. It's 1924 now. He's about 19 years old. As soon as I entered the Watchtower service at Magdeburg, I felt a chilling change. In Berlin, I had moved in the circles of one of the largest ecclesias of Bible students in the world, and had thoroughly enjoyed it. The spirit was one of brotherly love and freedom. Ours was an association of Christians who were spirit-begotten, and who through Christ had a personal standing before the throne of God. All this was for the purpose of fellowshipping and edification. From out of such fellowship and association, I entered into the brisk organizational atmosphere of the headquarters of the Watchtower Society in Magdeburg. In the place of fellowshipping came emphasis on charts, quotas, discussion of production policy, figuring of cost, and concern for organization. Instead of guidance of the Spirit, we heard the directing voice of the Watchtower leadership. Personal freedom was replaced by blind loyalty to the Watchtower directives. While in our Bible student meetings in Berlin, we would have occasion to have the Holy Spirit testify with our spirit that we are children of God, we had to listen to the company servant testify to Jehovah's Witnesses that we were good kingdom publishers in measure that we had fulfilled the quotas set for us. The greatest contrast lay in the fact that while our ecclesias had been an association of Christians, the meetings I now attended in Magdeburg were of the synagogue type. By this I mean that they consisted of a mixed multitude. In Israel of old there had been the proselytes of the gate and the proselytes of righteousness. The first of these were those dwelling in the land who were not bound by circumcision. The latter were those who were converted to Judaism and who had received circumcision and observed the whole law of Moses. Such, together with those born Jews, were a mixed multitude. A similar situation obtained in Magdeburg. By no means were all born of the Spirit, and that pattern had been followed, or has been followed in the kingdom halls to this day. At one time, early in 1931, there were the following Watchtower governed classes in association: the Mordecai Naomi class, the Ruth Esther class, Jonadabs, people of goodwill. As will be explained later, Jehovah's Witnesses of the Jonadab class are told, and themselves assent, that they cannot ever be spirit-begotten, but get their fructification through association with the Watchtower organization. While this condition prevails throughout Germany today, and this was in 1954-55, he was saying these words, there was only one place where such was the case in 1924, and I had to go there, and that voluntarily. Now the subhead is Serving at Magdeburg. Though I was only 19 years of age, I rapidly fitted into the Magdeburg picture. Just because of my youth, the novelty of the situation appealed to me. Having been reared among Germans, I was an obedient boy, trained from my earliest days to respect the instructions and commands of my elders and superiors. I also carried within me the native love the Germans have for orderliness and organization, and for which the Germans have become so well known, both for ill and good. I wound up in the office and was soon engulfed in the promotional work of the magazine, Das Goldene Zeitalter, the Golden Age. I became instrumental in bringing about copy distribution rather than subscription distribution, or a company carried out distribution on a local level. The result was that from 1925 to 1927, we saw the edition skyrocket from 50,000 copies to 325,000 copies per issue. It appeared that I was here in my element, and more I was led into and became deeply engrossed in organizational schemes. I lost sight of my first love. As I became thus involved, I found less and less time for self-contemplation, for study of the Bible, and personal religion. I spent very little time living and walking in the Spirit, and more time catering to the Watchtower Society and its tasks. Needless to say, my new creation life dwindled to a mere flicker, and in place of living in newness of life, I began again the life of the old beggarly elements. The dream of a world society which then I could not yet visualize as a slave society, like the dream of a new and great Germany, held by millions of Germans of my generation, had replaced the reality of a life in Jesus Christ. Next time, predictions of the end of the world. I'll put in a link to a commentary by Ray Franz. Russell, in contrast to all of this that we're reading about, said no organization. And he said no name, but the name of Christ. Quite a contrast to this thing that began in the early 1920s. I'll also put in a link to the Have Jehovah's Witnesses Ever Been God's Organization playlist, where you'll see all kinds of evidence that this thing, this monster, this organization has completely replaced the original concept of the small ecclesias that developed, and were fairly autonomous in those days, right up until the time Rutherford eliminated the local elders. So next time, predictions of the end of the world.